What is up, everybody? I'm No Lux Given, and today we are going to be breaking down Zippy the zombie. And this isn't going to be like a typical video where we just look at one game. We're actually going to be looking at 6 games throughout this video, as I am experimenting with this very cool and very powerful but very complicated new hero. And it's so complicated that you might remember that day one of the tournament, I didn't actually feel super comfortable playing with Zippy. I had never played with this new hero before, and I was a little bit busy with the new patch coming out, and then the new tournament was immediately after. I was kind of bumbling around a little bit, but since then, I have gone to work, and I have definitely a better understanding of this hero, I think. So wanted to present some of those cool ideas to you guys today, so that way you can be the queen bee of your Storybook Brawl lobbies. But first, let's take a look at some other players' impressions on Zippy the zombie. We're going to be looking at some day 2 games from the recent monthly tournament, where some other players were playing against us with Zippy, and Friendly Spirit definitely seems to be the way that a lot of people are taking this hero, at least initially. It is a really powerful tier 4 character. EC John even found one before level 4, so that was going to be a really powerful start for them. But one thing that I wanted to highlight is that EC John also picked up, despite it dying to my baby dragon, they also picked up a Wicked Witch support card, knowing that they were going to be able to create some evil units. So I think that is a really cool move, and we'll see that when we play them for the second time in a few turns here. Let's jump ahead just a little bit. Perfect. We've now found some friendly spirits of our own, so that's nice, and we're trying to get some slay strategies going on. But EC John has now made a bunch of friendly spirits, and they're going to have 2 upgraded friendly spirits, both being supported by this same Wicked Witch. They've also found a Hercules and a spear and a bunch of other crazy powerful stuff, so they're definitely going to kick our butt here, especially with all of these friendly spirits and then the bonus attacks that go on the Court Wizard. Even if we do knock down this Hercules eventually, that's going to make it really rough, and that's what takes us out of this game. But I still thought it was really interesting to look at, because they put something really strong together with Zippy the zombie. In the next game of the tournament, let's see if we can find our battles against Zippy. By the way, never really showed off day 2, but I thought this was like an interesting way to look at it. So we wind up playing Zippy early on, and then I believe we play them towards the end of this game. Should be, oh, no, right here, yeah, where they basically are the ones that take us out. And again, we are going to see that Friendly Spirit is that unit of choice that players are upgrading and just getting a whole bunch of stats early on, because Zippy can be a little bit tough. You don't have a hero power until like 3.2, 4.0, so you want to make the most use of it once you are actually able to do something with it, and an upgraded Friendly Spirit is definitely going to be quite strong. But I wanted to try some wackier things on this hero, and one thing that I thought would be really cool is using Zippy to create additional copies of questing characters. That's going to also activate our Cinderella here, but the important thing is it gives us another Nutcracker, and now we could potentially find something like Heartwood Elder. That would be really cool, and start to just pump up both of these Nutcrackers, and I believe that's what I do shortly. We are going to wind up picking up some Spell Weavers in the meantime, taking a look for Hat. That is something else we'll take another look at in a second. But yeah, just creating additional copies of these questing characters. Here's the Heartwood Elder. We can start pumping up both Heartwood Elders both Nutcrackers rather, at the same time, and then I'll even wind up casting this Pigomorph on the good Nutcracker. Now, what actually winds up happening with this is I wind up activating the good Nutcracker and the evil one I just eventually have to toss because it never gets any triggers on it, so we'll wind up tossing that away. But then we find another questing character that we can use to make use of these quests. And one thing that is really cool is if you can set up a scenario, like right now we have the Helm, which is putting Lancelot up to a 10/20 because of the fairy tale that we also have. So what would be really awesome in this scenario is if we can find a Lady of the Lake, and then basically every turn we would be activating a Lancelot, because we would just throw it in that first slot and it would immediately get all of those stats. So one thing that I think would be kind of cool with this strategy is shoulder fairies, and I don't wind up picking up that one, but it's definitely something that is percolating in my mind, and we are going to wind up picking up a pair of shoulder fairies on the next turn and just trying to scale up some shoulder fairies with Lancelots. I think that this is like a really cool and unique strategy because you don't typically get access to Evil Twin until you are level 6, right? And shoulder fairies on Lancelot is pretty cool because Lancelots are powerful. You can throw them in slot 1 and slot 2, build them both up with a Baba Yaga, and then each time one of them slays, you're also building up any number of shoulder fairies that you have. So you just try to pick up a bunch of those, and all of those are tier 5 characters, so that allows you to find Ambrosia, Hand of Midas, Staff of the Old Toad to find even more copies of those cards, and then also Evil Eye, so that your Baba Yaga can additionally support the Lancelot. Now, I'm going to wind up sending this Lancelot over the edge with a Good Witch, so that won't quite work on an evil Lancelot, but I am going to go ahead and make an evil Lancelot here, and then just keep it on the bench for the time being, and figured maybe I could activate this evil Lancelot potentially just by getting 3 of them. That wouldn't be like the craziest thing in the world. Then it's active and then it'll scale. The important thing is to just get it active to begin with. Yeah, then start trying to find some ways to scale it. So I thought this was an interesting strategy. Wound up being a little bit slow for me this game, but I do think that there will be games with Zippy where you are able to pull this off just because Shoulder Fairies is quite a big unit. So wanted to present this as like an additional strategy to consider, and we'll see how this game finishes out. Yeah, probably just taking Staff of the Old Toad here, and then I believe quite shortly I find another Shoulder Fairy, but we're gonna have to see that happen in a moment. Looks like I'm just trying to... Oh, I totally forgot about this. Okay, so the treasure that I take with Lancelot actually wasn't Staff of the Old Toad. I take Helm of the Ugly Gosling, because I can use that to activate Lancelot. Now, Lance needs one more stat here. It needs to get just 1 attack or health, so I wind up throwing it in the Helm slot, but that's going to immediately activate Evil Lance. That'll give me another tier 5 treasure. Maybe that'll be my staff or something else, and I'll worry about that in the future. I do pick up a Baba Yaga here, but unfortunately I can't run it, because if I play Baba Yaga, then that means that my Lancelot won't get the Helm of the Ugly Gosling. But Lance gets the Helm here. I forgot about that. That's a really cool play. You could also use Sword of Fire and Ice alongside the Helm to just give 5 more health to Lancelot in the front row. And that could potentially go a long way as well. So we are going to wind up taking some damage this combat. We take 15 down to 3, and then I think we're dead pretty quickly after that. But it's still a really cool idea. We could take the Evil Eye, we could take the Monkey's Paw, a lot of really interesting ideas going on, and then we also have the ability to pick up a Hercules or 2 this turn. Didn't need to create this Lancelot. I could have just made 2 Hercules this turn, and maybe that could have been enough to get me out of dodge here. It's not going to wind up being super effective ultimately, but yeah, just some cool ideas. That's what we're taking a look at in this video. I think it's not going to wind up being strong enough against this Miri ultimately. Yeah, and then I just put in another Lancelot. Oh, you know what? This combat is really, really close. I think we win this one actually. And unfortunately don't get another trigger on this Hercules. So this game actually went a lot farther than I remember, and it definitely has legs if you can just get a little bit lucky with it. So definitely a fun strategy to consider with Zippy. Here's another strategy that can be really strong with Zippy. I actually had a pretty good game on this one, still at 34 health on 3.2 and already have my first evil twin, and I'm looking for a pair of one of these level 3 good units so that way I can hunt for tier 3 treasures, which notably contains Crystal Ball, one of the most powerful treasures in the game, especially when you get it early on. So that's kind of what I'm going for here, going to wind up just picking up a Sting, which I felt like had some nice synergies with my summon characters, but could also work with the Brave Princess that's in the shop, and then also Lancelot, like we just looked at in the previous video. So a lot of things to consider there. I don't want to go too crazy, but I actually wound up taking this game pretty deep, probably a little bit too deep. Again, we're experimenting, we're seeing what works. I'm going to pick up this Brave Princess and lock onto this XP spell, so that way we can both look for Crystal Ball and then also potentially hunt for like Aeon or something down the line. That's kind of the idea. Going to wind up picking up another donkey here and getting some nice slays in with the Brave Princess, buying some more XP. The important thing too is that I'm also strong in this game. I'm feeling pretty good about just my current position, so I'm going to use that to buy XP so that way I can potentially make evil twins of some level 5 units rather than level 4 units. We basically are skipping level 4 entirely. I can use this evil twin on Donkey, and that is the plan, and that is actually going to grab us the Crystal Ball. So really sweet stuff. Now we've got Crystal Ball, we've got Sting. Sting is good with Aeon. We also have Deck of Many Things, so next turn's 5.0 plan is to roll for Aeon on next turn. I'm going to pick up a Wizard's Familiar and then a Golden Chicken so that way we can preserve some Econ going into next turn, and then I'll also pick up a Spellweaver so that we have some more mages to throw some bonuses onto, and I'm even going to get a few slays here with the Brave Princess. I don't remember this one. Okay, I do find an Aeon, actually a pair of Aeons relatively quickly here on 5.0, and we're up against the Ghost. So all of this is really nice. And then I'm even going to do something a little bit silly on this turn, which is just play all of my mages because we're up against the Ghost and we do have Deck of Many Things. So these Aeons are going to pump each other, and then they'll also pump these guys. So just going to play all of those. Again, this game actually winds up falling off a little bit towards the end, but still, we were able to find the Crystal Ball with Zippy, which I think is like proof of concept enough. And I even take that a little bit farther in this next game. Now, one thing you'll notice in this game is we are on 4.0 and I have not picked up a single good character. In fact, I have gone full evil. I do consider this Romeo pair, which I could then use to grab a tier 3 treasure, but that's what I'm looking for this game is tier 3 treasures, and we're going to be able to find one here with Spellweaver, which is really cool. I think Ancient Sarcophagus could have been really strong for us, but I want to try to go for Crystal Ball, and more specifically, there's a strategy that I brought up in my patch notes that I thought would be super fun, and I'm going to wind up skipping ahead just a little bit here. Oh yeah, I pick up this Princess White just to not be super weak on this turn, but we're still a little bit weak. The important thing though is eventually, after a whole bunch of rolls, after we complete this Queen of Hearts triple, after we take a whole bunch of damage, I had to roll a ton in this game. Never found a Friendly Spirit, never found a Beauty's Influence, but that is what I was looking for the whole time, was Beauty's Influence. And eventually, where's it at? Okay, I pick up another Spellweaver. Eventually, we find the Beauty's Influence. And This is really cool. This is a strategy, again, that I talked about in the patch notes. I do find the Friendly Spirit in the same turn, but then I finally find the Beauty's Influence, so I'm going to cast that on a Spellweaver. Luckily, we're also up against the Ghost right now. Once I have a good Spellweaver, that is super awesome for us because it's going to mean that now we can cast all of our Evil Twins on Spellweaver as well and just get a whole bunch more copies of Spellweaver. And that is going to allow us to also find Merlin's hat, and then we can do some old-fashioned hat ball in here. I'll roll one more time, lock onto an Eon, cast an Earthquake up against the Ghost. A little bit spooky, being at 5 health. I'll also wind up picking up a Crafty on the last second there. Yeah, definitely spooky here to be up against the Ghost, but now every time that we get kills, of course, we're not going to kill enough things in this combat with my opponent only having 7 characters, but we'll get another Evil Twin, and we can just use that Evil Twin to make an additional copy of Spellweaver. So that is really, really cool. That's the game plan. We're going to see how long we can hang on just by hatballing here. I'm not expecting it to be too long. We could take a monster book to kind of add some fuel to the fire. We could also take another Spellweaver, and I think that that actually is a good pickup here, just because we're going to try to sell down our hand here and cast as many spells as possible. I'm not sure if I should be playing this Cinderella or my Friendly Spirit as my final unit, but then we are also going to sell off the Queen of Hearts and the Princess White. We can pick up this Wizard's Familiar, skip the treasure, and that's a little bit more econ just for rolling down here for a few more spells. I'll throw in the Crafty. Again, I don't know if the Friendly Spirit is better or not because the Cinderella is a royal, so that's definitely something interesting to consider. But another cool thing about this game is we also throw a Beauty's Influence on the Aeon, and that is going to allow us to now start Evil Twinning those Aeons next turn, and now we can look for some tier 5 treasures, which aren't super impactful in mage comps, but could certainly be useful. I'm going to move Spellweaver to the front in slot 1, just because I'm a little bit worried about my overall chance of success here. I want to give myself the best odds of winning this combat because one loss and we are out. Again, I think that this strategy can work. It wound up taking us a little bit too long to get here, but it's a really, really cool idea to Beauty's Influence an evil unit that is already fully upgraded, and then you get a bunch of bonus value. That Medusa attack was not super great for us. We do have a bunch of ranged units, but it's going to come down to how many bonus attacks this opposing Court Wizard grabs, and unfortunately this combat just does not work out for us. It's very, very close, but we are going to wind up getting a loss here. I'm curious what the percentages were on this one if I allow that to pop up. Yeah, 37 or 73, little dyslexia there, 73% chance to win, 3 out of 4% chance to win, but the Sherwood Sure Shot popping out of my opponent's Wombats in Disguise, certainly a little bit unlucky there, as well as some of these attacks like this. The Court Wizard could have hit either of these two things and it would have survived, and then obviously the Lady of the Lake could have not taken out our ranged unit as well. But yeah, Zippy Ball, I think, is also a really cool strategy on the hero. But that's not the most powerful strategy on Zippy. Zippy can definitely do some really, really strong things, and that's what we are going to be looking at in this video. We are going for some turbo XP mode, and one of the reasons that I can afford to do so is Zippy's going to help us find triples of all of these characters that we're currently playing, which is really, really cool and a really fun way to activate the Skips puzzle rune. Unfortunately, this opponent kind of owns us here, taking out both of our good witches before cracking into any of our frontline stuff, so that part is a little bit annoying. We're just going to spam them with sheep. and that's not going to be enough to get a win. We are going to get some slays with Ogre Princess, which is nice, but yeah, a little bit annoying. We'll see how we can recover from that. We are going to grab a free character from Ogre Princess, which gives us a free level 3 treasure, and that's the other thing that's kind of cool about this game, is we are looking for just triples to try to find that XP, but then we are also making triples of level 3 characters, so potentially we wind up hatballing or something like that again, and that could be a lot of fun. Felt like I had to pick up Court Wizard here, everything was a royal, and then I'll pick up Ogre Princess as well, and probably just want to go for Telltale Quiver. It is the most raw stats on the board. Though Merlin's Hat definitely has some play to it, as well as the Cursed Throne, because we are playing all royals, but I'm just going to wind up playing this, and then I don't even know what I do for the rest of this combat. I guess I just throw in a golden chicken randomly. Probably wanted the golden chicken to go earlier, so that way my royals could get attacked into, but honestly, all of this is fine. Ogre Princess is going to give us a free level 4 unit. That's pretty fun. And eventually, with that... Oh, do I get the... Let me see. Do I even get this sleigh? I must, right? Yeah, okay. So I get the free level 4 character. And what is that? Oh, that's an Amy. Okay, so that's not super exciting. And then I wind up purchasing a Gingerbread Knight. And now if we find another Gingerbread Knight, we could potentially activate that, and then we're level 6. I don't really have to stress about when I use this Evil Twin, because I'm going to be level 6 next turn regardless. So I can kind of lay low and figure out what I want to do. And then I wind up finding another Gingerbread Knight. If I use the Evil Twin on the Princess Peep, then it won't be supported anymore by the Good Witch, so I'm not going to worry about that. And then the other thing here is, like I said, I'm going to be level 6 next turn regardless, so I'm actually just going to go for a stronger board here. I'm going to pick up another Court Wizard, which is getting +3/+3 from my Telltale Quiver, and then next turn I'm planning on picking up Gingerbread Knight and grabbing ourselves a bigger character. Oh no, I'm actually going to go for it right now. Okay, well this makes sense too. That way I get to play a 14/14 this turn, and now I'm just playing like the strongest possible board that I can, and I'm very, very well set up for the end game. So I do like this strategy a lot as well. We've got hopefully some bonus attacks in with the Court Wizard. They're not going to die to the Mummy, but they're not really going for the bonus attacks immediately here either, but then eventually we will get that payout, and I believe we'll also take down my opponent's prize pig as well. So that's nice, some bonus gold going into 6.0 here. We are going to pick up this Gingerbread Knight and then replace our Skip's Puzzle Rune. And this sets us up extremely well for the rest of the game. My first thought is Horn of Olympus, because with Zippy the Zombie, I haven't really led this on yet, but one of the most powerful endgame strategies is to just make a bunch of copies of Princess Peep, or Princess P rather, which is a very, very powerful endgame unit. However, I decided to go for the Sky Castle, and it's really a tough consideration there because Sky Castle is also so powerful with Queen P, Empress P there in the end game. So yeah, definitely a tough thing to consider, but I wind up just going for the Sky Castle, so that way when we find a Princess P or an Empress P, then we can make a whole bunch of copies of it. So that's kind of the idea. Good Boy, kind of interesting on Zippy because we can make a whole bunch of copies of that as well. But it's a little bit weird. And with this golden chicken, I decide that I want to just keep on rolling. And then I eventually, I think, do pick up this Good Boy. No. Okay, I keep rolling. Great. And we'll see what we can pick up here. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Let's see. All right, I'll hold that in for another second. I believe it is this next turn I take a little bit of damage that I then eventually do find the Empress P. as well as a good boy, and the good boy's still like a little bit tempting in this sting slot. I think that's what I'm realizing here now, is that we can put the good boy in the sting slot and then it pumps up all of the court wizards even more. And with such a low health total, I do feel like this is probably a route that I want to go. So wind up hedging a little bit here, picking up a good boy, even if I'm not super likely to hang on to it forever, but who knows, maybe I will, because now what I'll get to do is start churning through some tier 6 treasures with these Empress P's. That's so tough for me to get used to saying, and a lot of tier 6 treasures work really, really well with good boy. We could also pick up a tier 5 treasure here by picking up a Lancelot. Apologies, just lost the camera for a second, but hopefully that's all good. Some camera issues today, but now I pick up a Green Knight. I think that might be a little bit better. I don't know. I'm kind of experimenting with this game still, and this is my first time ever getting this kind of crazy Princess P comp online, so I wasn't sure exactly how I should take it, but Singing Sword is really, really good with Empress P because now she's got a little bit less attack thanks to the recent nerf, so giving her that plus 15 attack, which then can go on all of your supports, is obviously quite nice. So this is what we are going to try to do, and I think I should reorder the good boy. I kind of mess up and realize this the last second, but let's actually go back, because a lot still happens. I didn't realize that I still had some gold. I wind up rolling down and finding another Empress P right here. So I can sell 2 things to pick that up, and I think that's worth it to do so. I'm not using this Nutcracker really at this point, so let's get rid of the Nutcracker. Let's get rid of this Good Witch, even though it has some P synergy. Oh wow, I actually get rid of that. Okay, that's a little bit surprising, but I think it's okay. The main consideration here is that I really, really want to find the Horn of Olympus. That will take this comp from what it is right now to something just absolutely incredible. But I should have put the good boy in slot 1. That way it could immediately pump up the court wizards and the Nutcracker, which would have allowed us to grab a tier 4 treasure here, and then would have also allowed the court wizards to just have bigger bonus attacks off the rip. I think that we're still going to be fine with this mighty Empress here leading the charge, and then all of these ranged units. My opponent's still on 5.2, so we're kind of killing it. And Zippy the zombie in the endgame is quite a force to be reckoned with. But what is absolutely crazy this game is I wind up rolling, okay, this turn I find a Hercules. That's what I thought. I also find another Princess P this turn, which is just absolutely crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock onto that. And I just have an abundance of riches here. So I'm gonna make another Princess P. We could even skip this treasure and then just pick up another Princess P, but I like these treasures enough. This was actually a close call between Mimic Chest and Pandora's Box, but because these Ps are evil, it made things really awkward for me where these weren't actually getting pumped up by the good boy. So yeah, just overall a little bit awkward. I think that I should have put that spell on the good boy also, by the way, because then the Hercules would have been able to activate in 1. It goes up to 90 here. Now, it's not going to matter. It's just going to get targeted by a ranged unit and not activate at all. And also, we have enough in the way of tier 6 treasures, so it's not the biggest deal overall anyways. But yeah, definitely something to consider. We also don't get our Evil Twin activation this turn. We're just barely short of that, but we are gonna find another Princess P, so that's sweet. Then from here, I'm just like, should I just be picking up support characters? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I should be doing in this endgame Empress P comp, but that is basically what we are trying to figure out now. That's why this is an experimental game rather than its own full video. It's very cool to have 3 or 2 going on 3 upgraded Princess Ps, Empress Ps. I'm gonna still keep calling it Princess P, despite getting confused with Empress P nonetheless. And then Yeah, I'm just not sure exactly how you're supposed to organize this board. That just comes with this being the first time that I've played a comp like this. Just some growing pains. That's what's going to happen. And then I want to play these royals as well because I want to play the court wizards and the royals. All of these are some nice synergies. We're up against the ghost here, so it probably doesn't really matter. And for that purpose, I kind of want to just try to activate Hercules the best effort that I can, and that is going to be with double supporting the Hercules, I realize. Putting the good boy, so that's going to give 40 attack there. And then I'm realizing that it just wasn't enough even with that. So yeah, just some awkward stuff, but we're figuring it out here. I wind up playing Empress P's supported by nothing, which is definitely a little bit awkward, but we are going to grab our tier 6 treasure here regardless. Might not matter too much because we already have a bunch of tier 6 treasures and we get to grab another one this turn, even with the fact that we can make another double of Princess P. And I think that's what makes me skip on these treasures. I mean, Wand of Weirding Mimic Chest could have been good enough, but ultimately was a little bit awkward. We are on to the finals against a Fates with a bunch of health, which is kind of cool. What I'm going to do is pick up this court wizard and just hope to find the Horn of Olympus, because if we do, that'll make a lot of our decisions a lot easier from here. So that's what I wind up going for. Find another good boy, but at this point, all of my characters are evil. So that's very awkward. And then I find another Baba Yaga. And while I don't really care about the support that Baba Yaga is giving, I just care that it is a support character. So I wind up picking up Baba Yaga and then make another Empress P upgrade. We can find another tier 6 treasure. And honestly, probably should go for the Phoenix Feather here. I greeded a little bit. I wanted to try to put together a horn, and I figured by hanging on to the Sky Castle, that would be the easiest way to find a horn. We'll see if I get punished for that. I'm going to wind up using a Masquerade Ball to pick up an Echo Wood, and I still don't know a little bit about what I should be doing here, but it is going to be strong enough, this board. We don't get the Echo Wood attacked into, and then my Empress P's die, and that gives me a massive Echo Wood. Now, Echo Wood's going to go down to a Rotten Apple Tree, but the rest of my supports are still big enough. So we are still hanging in there. We didn't grab an Evil Twin this turn. We will have an Evil Twin next turn. And this is going to be a little bit of a slog to defeat my opponent here. I think that I would probably have been in a better situation had I just taken the Phoenix Feather off the rip. But regardless, this is where we found ourselves. So I'm going to pick up another Green Knight, and I figured the Green Knights are good because now the Echo Wood gets to grab a bunch of health, and I feel like that is probably ultimately the way to victory here. So we'll try this, see if this board works. Is this going to be good enough against the Fates? They do have a bunch of Rotten Apple Trees as well. However, on this turn, I believe they triple up on their apple trees, which gives them a Hand of Midas. So they're planning on doing some big things, but they wind up playing a much weaker board this turn. I backline my Echo Wood just so that way it's less likely to get scammed and able to grow big from all of those Green Knights, but we definitely had a turn off here as my opponent gives us some reprieve, and I like the idea of just tripling the Green Knight, getting a whole bunch of stats on these Princess Empress Ps. But I still really want that horn. We also find another Empress P, which is just absolutely crazy. I am going to wind up using this Evil Twin, though, on a Juliet, because I really want to. Well, I pick up another Empress P first, but after that, then I wind up going for this on Juliet, and I'm not sure what the strongest board is. Should I be playing this? Should I be playing my Baba Yagas because they're ranged supports? Hopefully we can find the horn. We don't. And it winds up being a pretty huge factor, like all of these turns ago when I upgraded, what was it? When I upgraded the Gingerbread Knight, that's what it's called. Could have taken Horn of Olympus. Instead, I took Sky Castle, and it gives me a really cool looking board on this endgame, which is really fun. But I get nervous about having this Echo Wood in, and I thought that I might want to just play more ranged characters. So this is what I wind up playing. And then I don't play the Echo Wood at all, which I think was unfortunately a pretty costly mistake. That's going to mean that my opponent with their new upgraded Ashwood Elm is unfortunately able to take me out here, as now all of their characters can trade with mine, and I just don't have the health to survive these attacks. So I wind up dying. I take exactly 9, a little bit unfortunate because this was such a sweet board, but hopefully you guys can learn from some of my mistakes and learn a little bit out of what I'm doing here to put together even bigger Zippy the Zombie comps in some of your games. And that's not all. There is one Zippy the Zombie game that I didn't showcase in this video, where honestly I don't go as crazy with the experimental side of stuff, but I'm still able to put together something quite powerful. So that's going to be my video that you can look forward to tomorrow, but that's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.